Right, now Parliament and 47 county assemblies will be the next stop for the constitution review process after yesterday's official unveiling of the BBI validated report. Members of the legislative arms, both at the national and county level, have pledged to do their best to ensure proposed constitutional amendments are effected through a referendum, as Duncan Hayamba now reports.
From its official unveiling to the public at the Cultural Bomas of Kenya, BBI's next discourse will now be public debate on its content, particularly on issues captured under the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020, already crafted by BBI Steering Committee and Parliament leadership. Both Senate and National Assembly have pledged their support.
In August of 2010, that's when the Constitution was promulgated. And between August and March of 2012, I believe we had delivered on about all the legislation that was required to actualize the Constitution. So we can do it. But now, time is different. We are meeting limited because of COVID, but we believe we are up to the task. And I want to assure the Kenyan people, on behalf of these members of Parliament, that what has been placed on our hands, we are equal to the task.
There are no poor that belongs to any of us. There are no rich that belong to any of us. If you split the poor, they will fight. If you split the rich, they will fight. And so we just want us to begin a new phase of our political life. And this document, we support it.
According to the Constitution, amendments to be done through popular initiative must garner the support of at least 1 million signatures from registered voters. The draft bill and the supporting signatures shall be delivered to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) for verification. If requirements have been satisfied, IEBC shall then submit the draft bill to each county assembly for consideration, and once approved, a speaker of each county assembly shall deliver a copy of the draft to the speakers of the two houses of parliament with a certificate that the county assembly has approved it. At least 24 county assemblies are required to give the bill a nod.
Rais, hii document nataka kuambia pamoja ukiwa na ndugu yako, musitishwe, musitishwe. Leteni tuende kwa referendum. We are the majority. We are the people. We are there. We will get it. Usubuhi saina itakuwa imepita. Musitishwe. Kenya tusitishwe, tunataka amani.
Tuingie mashinani, tuuze hii katiba. Hii katiba ni lazima ipite.
Perhaps it is time that hustlers should pause their hustling for a moment. And the reggae dancers pause their dance for a moment and join together in a serious Jerusalem dance for the sake of the peace and the unity of this nation. After all, DJ Master KG and his sister remind us that the New Jerusalem is our ultimate home.
Campaign to ensure that this document is passed the soonest possible. And for the constitutional amendments, there is no more debate. Let us just go and pass it. Give us debate. For the legislative agenda, let us look at it. You can debate it as much as you want.
Once in Parliament, the bill must be supported by a majority of members of each house before the resolution is submitted to the President for assent in accordance with Articles 256, Section 4 and 5. If either House of Parliament fails to pass the bill, the proposed amendment shall be submitted to the people in a referendum as per Article 255, Section 2. This is the third attempt to amend the 2010 Constitution through popular initiative after CORD through Okoa Kenya initiative in 2016 and 2018's Punguza Mizigo initiative by Third Way Alliance. Duncan Hayamba, KTN News.
Hundreds of delegates gathered at the Bomas of Kenya for the launch of the validated version of the BBI report. Bomas has played host to some of the major gatherings in this search for constitutional reforms. The first major constitution review journey began at the Bomas of Kenya more than 18 years ago. Here now is a look at the symbolism of the Bomas of Kenya in the country's constitutional review.
49 years ago, the Bomas of Kenya opened its doors. The complex, conceived and planned by Barack Obama Sr. The idea of the Kenya Tourist Development Corporation was to promote the country's rich cultural heritage. But in Kenya's political history, Bomas of Kenya, which has one of the largest auditoriums, is best known for something different. Constitutional reforms. Kenya's first major constitutional changes were conceived here. Prior to the 2002 general election, the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission was established. The Professor Yashpal Gai-led commission began discussions on constitutional changes. A process that saw delegates spent weeks at the Bomas of Kenya giving their views. Following debates, consultations, gathering of views and retreats, the 2004 draft constitution was endorsed by the National Constitutional Conference and was named after the venue where the changes were envisaged and endorsed, the Bomas draft. The Bomas draft would be reviewed, first following consultations in Naivasha, dubbed Naivasha Accord, then Kilifi, which was named the Kilifi Accord, before the then Attorney General Amos Wako authored the proposed new Constitution of Kenya, which was referred to as the Wako Bill, which was rejected during the 2005 referendum. 5 years after the Bomas of Kenya played host to the first major review of the Constitution, it would in 2009 again handle matters constitution. The committee of experts chaired by the late Nzamba Kitonga set up camp at the Bomas of Kenya, working on the harmonized draft, which eventually gave birth to the country's 2010 Constitution.
Watching the BBI Task Force report, Makofi.
11 years since constitutional issues were discussed at Bomas, another constitution review journey was launched at the same venue with the unveiling of the BBI report in November 2019. Close to a year later, the validated version of the BBI has been launched at the Bomas of Kenya, a venue that remains symbolic in Kenya's constitution review process. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
And speaking of matters BBI report, Michael has a special interview lined up for you in just a few minutes. Michael, what's up?
Yes, and we're going to be hosting the Leader of Majority in the National Assembly, Honorable Amos Kimunya, and getting into the discourse. And of course, now the BBI report is something that is available for all and sundry to read. And this is really the time that we as Kenyans are supposed to interact with the document, understand it, so that when it gets to the referendum, if we get to that point, then we know exactly what we are putting ourselves in as Kenyans. Of course, there are those issues that have stood out as contentious issues that we're going to be tackling and looking at right here. Remember, you're part of this conversation and we would like you to participate. And the question that we asked earlier on is...
We're asking you if you agree with the concerns raised by the Deputy President. Do you think those concerns are valid? And your comments have been coming in. Keep them coming through and we shall sample them, make them a part of the conversation as we go along. But for now, let us take a short break.